just the boldest, the biggest, the baddest, the meanest, the toughest.
Hey guys, I haven't talked to you in a while and I'm sorry about that. I've been swamped with work, as I'm sure most of you have been actually. Today I wanted to, as you might have guessed by my little intro, talk to you about music, which I am not even slightly qualified to be talking about. Recently I've been listening to a lot of bands that are definitely very post-internet kind of post-technology bands. I'll input some little like music bits here so you can have a look at that, but especially yeah, this song called Window Lipper, that's this like weird crazy like remix of like Windows songs. And I have another band that I do quite like a lot is Caro Caro Bonito. That's just this like totally weird kind of post-internet band that definitely takes advantage of kind of internet culture and stuff like that. And I think definitely all this stuff is like kind of very much a product of our time, because whenever I put it on, my parents have absolutely no idea what they're listening to. But yeah, so I don't know, it gets me wondering about music, you know, that came before this. And as much as I do like the music that's being produced now, I do acknowledge that so much of it is just like awful. You know, when I say that, you know, modern music can be great and can be good, I'm not talking about David Guetta, because David Guetta is just like, yeah, I'm just not sure where music is going, where it's going to go. I definitely think it's interesting, but I think it poses kind of like an existential question to like the lost art of vintage music making, and you know, stuff that's been like going for years and years, it's now just being like computerized totally. And I mean, that's kind of as far as my knowledge of it goes. And to talk about it more thoroughly, I realized that I kind of had to give the platform to other people, so I found really interesting guys that have some stuff to say about that, and they both work on really different mediums, and they both have a passion for kind of the authentic and the vintage, and they have some pretty interesting things to say about why they would prefer the old over the new. So as I finished editing the video and I'm almost ready to post it, I'm realizing that it may not be entirely obvious why I've chosen this topic in light of Educated, so who I'm collaborating with to make this video. I think it's interesting to say not just that Educated is interesting in what is new and you know, up and coming for education especially, but I think it's also a platform for appreciating and evaluating what works and what doesn't work, and what works and is old and we should keep, and how we can improve on things that we think can get better and can be improved, especially with technology, as is kind of like showcased really well through the topic of music. So without further ado, here I finally launch into the video, and I hope you guys like it. Bye. Address the camera.
My name is JJ, third year student at UCU. What I do with music is I rap firstly, but aside from that, I make sample-based beats. This is essentially like an instrumental track. Upon graduating high school, as a gift, I got this, which is a machine. A machine is like a child of old style sample-based beat machines. So essentially what I do, I make sample-based beats, and so what that essentially entails is taking bits and pieces from other people's records, chopping it up in a certain way to make your own melodies, rhythms, and then making something new with it. If I look at the way it was done during the origins, it was all being done off of record and vinyl, so I wanted to do that too. There's a certain sound which you get from records which you don't get off of digital audio.
I'm Paul, I'm 19 years old. I guess I have to talk about my passion, music and vintage music and that. I'm a huge Beatles fan and also a huge Radiohead fan. I listen to a lot of records, and I just like vintage stuff. Like for me, I mean, when I went out to buy this one, I tried out a lot of different ones, because they also still make it new. But this sound is so much fuller and richer, and they just look really nice. Like yeah. The little cracks in the finish. It looks a little bit of rust here and there, a little discoloring on this, for example. That's the stuff I like. That's also, surprise, inspired by the Beatles. So it's also kind of a fanboy thing, because this is also the base of Paul McCartney.
How do you feel about Urban Outfitters selling like record players under their like house label? How do you feel about that whole culture of commercializing like this kind of authenticity?
I think people get way too butthurt. If you are really concerned about the culture around it, and you're really concerned about, you know, keeping it authentic in a certain sense, you're not going to go to Urban Outfitters. I think when people try to represent that as like the real thing, or is more real than, you know, a record store which has been running for, you know, 40 plus years. To me, that's just more enticing. But if your interests are buying a pink record player so that you can play like the 3 Adele records you own, fair. Like, if that's what you like to do, by all means.
I think it's nice to see that it gets such a revival, because it's fun. I mean, the whole part of not clicking on Spotify but just putting a record on it, it's almost like a little ceremony or something. So that's good. But then with the commercialization of all that, I mean, the Urban Outfitters record players are killing your records. They're really bad. Well, the revival is good. They should do it like in a good way, not ruining everything you have. The thing about vintage is it's irreplaceable. So if you ruin that one record that's 40 years old, that's, I think, the biggest part of. So, you know, it's always a bit scary playing on it, but that makes it extra special. You're just so careful.
So then this stuff, if someone like switched out all your stuff with stuff that was new and more expensive and better, would you be happy?
I would miss the old, but that probably comes from a space of familiarity. Granted, something is newer, so it'll be able to do certain things better than the old one, but there'll be certain things which the old one can do, which the new one might not be able to do in the same way.
No one talks about that, right? Like, you never see that as a...
No.
But it's interesting, on the internet, all those forums, because I'm looking to buy another bass now, and then you start to read up on it, and it's always a big debate you have, though. You have one group who fervently believes that the old ones sound way better, and then you have another group who are like, shut up, it's the same, just buy a new one because they're cheaper.
Do you think you'll ever move beyond this? Like, do you ever see yourself like transitioning into like just your laptop?
That's a sad day.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I spend enough time, you know, like writing essays and shit, doing nitty gritty stuff behind the laptop. If I'm going to create, I want to be able to play, like have fun and fuck with it.
But yeah, so that was it. I hope you learned as much as I did. I don't think I can really add anything that they haven't already added. Vintage is going to hold a place in music for a long time. Even if it's sentimental value, even if it's this idea of authenticity that we project onto material things, there's so much meaning and symbolism behind that wasn't there originally when it was created. You know, it was created as a tool, and now it's become kind of like a symbol. The symbolic meaning of stuff that's old and vintage is never going to go away, and if anything, it's going to grow. I think we rely on people like Paul and JJ to kind of keep it going and make sure we don't lose on that. So that was it for this video. Yeah, I guess I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll upload a little vlog about my Christmas break, and until I see you guys, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and talk to you next time. Bye.